You guys are making me think that what are our solutions? Tell the truth wherever we're at. Two, we can ram a stick in the spokes, as you mentioned, people who are, whether you're teachers or administrators that are willing to do so, whether it's school board members or legislators, ram a stick and try to and throw sand in the gears. That's how James Lindsay puts it. And build a parallel system. Which is what homeschoolers are trying to do. It's hard though, because our system, the homeschool and whatever micro school community is not sitting on this massive amount of funding with which to pay teachers.
Right.
And without being paid, how are they going to be able to support their families? So what else can we actually do?
This is why I always come back to this idea of sacrifice. Nothing in the world worth anything is obtainable without sacrifice and hard work. And as long as we're looking for the easy way, which is the natural man tendency, right? Water finds the course of least resistance. We will find that we have to fight every day, meaning we have to put forth effort, exert ourselves, study, learn, become self-sufficient, learn how to do things for ourselves so that we are less and less dependent on the system in order to survive. And if we can do that, we will find ourselves hopefully thriving and not locked up. But one way or the other, we cannot compromise our conscience and expect to make headway. This is going to require us having faith that doing the right thing and telling the truth will eventually lead to the best possible outcome, even when it means we might have to suffer in the process. So you think about the people that went to the gulags. Those were not the people that went along to get along. The people that ended up in the gulags were those that believed in something and were willing to stand for something. Did they suffer and pay a price for that? Yeah, they did. But there were people like Alexander Solzhenitsyn who ended up in the gulags. And what did he do? He continued to expose the system from within. And he shared exactly what was happening in the gulags. And he found a way to get it out to the people so that other countries came to understand what was happening. And only because of that were we able to overcome that oppression and set people free, right? The truth will set us free. That doesn't mean we won't suffer for being truth tellers, but we have to decide what is most important and what are we willing to stand for, or do we not stand for anything? Are we willing to just passively go into back into slavery and servitude and become serfs and shells of the people we once were? Or are we willing to fight the good fight with the faith that if we do, the hand of providence will step in once again, just like it did for, during the Revolutionary War and our founding fathers, because they chose to try the impossible. They had faith that doing the right thing was the best thing, even though they suffered tremendously for it. But because they were willing to do the seemingly impossible, God made it possible. Joan of Arc said, act, then God will act. If we are not willing to exercise our faith and do the hard thing and do the right thing because it's the right thing, regardless of the consequence, then we don't deserve the help of heaven. But if we will, then it shows God that we are worthy and of that help, and he will step in. This is for such a time as this, right? We need him more than ever. And I think that's what he's trying to teach us in the end, is that as people, we have a creator, and he will have a humble people. He will humble us until we acknowledge him. The sooner we acknowledge him and turn to him, the sooner he can intervene on our behalf and rescue and deliver us from, but there are consequences to pay for having let it go so far. And there's no way of escaping that. And I, for one, want to be on the side of fighting the good fight and doing what truth and liberty require, regardless of the consequence, knowing that that's how you pay it forward and help those down, in generations to come, our children, our grandchildren. And if we're not willing to pay the price, well, then we will end up in servitude, and our children and grandchildren will never know freedom.
So Natalie mentions a lot of that the personal solution, right? And that's a huge component. It's bigger than most people realize. But then the question is, what do we do policy wise? If our policies are being captured en route to, what they're being sold as, what can be done there? And one of the things, since we've let it go so far, is one of the biggest things we can do is it's the comparison I like to bring up is like that of a river that's flowing south. I don't think we can make that river flow north at this point. It's beyond our strength. It's beyond our control. But what we can do is dam it. And so that is something we can do. And so we need to start damming these bad policies. And you don't have to vote for something that makes exceptions, for instance, for men to be in women's restrooms. Don't vote for it. Damn it. And you just don't. We need to have that courage. Just don't make excuses for the exceptions. We need our policymakers to know that this is the type of courage we expect of them. And we may like them as people, but they're not there to be, happy Uncle Joe who, everybody likes as a person or a neighbor or whatever. They're there to be policymakers, and they are making momentous decisions that reflect the culture that we live in. Well, if you want to try to push back on the culture, then you need to stop voting for bad policies. And that is going to take, I think, not just one person standing up, but it's going to take coalitions. A few people can create big change, but they have to be willing to stick together on that front. And we have to be willing to hold them accountable. To say that was a bad vote. And and I don't want to hear about, well, if I didn't vote this way, then they wouldn't pass my legislation, which is good, over on this this front or that front. I don't want to hear it anymore, because what we're giving away, we will never get back.
Right.
We've given it away. And culturally, we're, like Natalie said, we are paying the price. The piper will always have to be paid. And if you do not pay the piper, he leads your kids off into the mountainside and you never see them again.
There are no easy answers going forward. And when we have grown up in a time where we have been able to live very soft lives, where everything has been easy, just, a click of a button. And, almost anything the world you could wish for can be yours, right? We haven't had to put a lot of effort in. Our lives have been largely entertainment focused. And we have become a soft people. And that's going to be the hardest thing to overcome, right? Because we're going to have to be willing to do hard work, and we're going to find ourselves in uncomfortable positions, and we're going to have to really step it up and say, okay, I'm going to have to do hard things, and I'm going to embrace that and realize that, that's how I grow, and that's how I'm going to become a better person. I'm just going to take the bull by the horns, like our, parents and grandparents used to say. And I'm not going to shirk. I'm not going to shrink. I'm just going to face the facts of where we're at, and accept that, you have to kind of go through the grieving process when you realize where we're at, and that we say we want to go back to the old normal. We don't like this new normal, but the new normal is really what has been normal throughout most of history. I think we grew up in a not normal environment where so much was so good for so long. And now we're like, you know what? We can do this. We can do this. And we just have to have a shift in our mindset to realize we were prepared for this day and age. And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to take a lot more effort than we're used to, but we can do it.
don't bargain away what is most precious. And so I would say, you know, on an individual level, do not sell your birthright for that mess of porridge. Do not do that. Some things are non-negotiable, and those non-negotiables, if we want to survive as a nation, if we want to thrive in our society, that's the faith, that's the family, and that's the freedom, and that's the truth that circumscribes all of those things. Those objective, time-tested, empirically indisputable truths. Do not give them away in the name of niceness. Do not give them away in the name of collaboration. Do not do that thing. And, you know, and then if you can get past that bargaining part, you know, you might go into a little bit of a depressive state. You might feel like, oh my gosh, it's hopeless. It is not. It is not. In fact, you know what? Once we move into, you know, acceptance of, okay, this is what we were called to be. We were called to be fighters. We were called to be warriors. We were called to be the ones who could help, you know, wake up the neighborhood, the Paul Reveres who are willing to ride through and say, hey, it's coming. And, you know, and risk having somebody throw a kettle at your head as you pass by on your horse because you just won't shut up. You know, it's okay. It's all right. It's fun. This is okay.
As long as you're not collaborating with those that throw truth out the window, or that are trying to collaborate with those that are perpetuating the Marxist program.
The ones that are disagreeing better.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's where we get into trouble, and our collaboration kills us.
Yeah.
When we can come together and have that camaraderie with other like-minded people who are tethered to truth, you know, like a kite, that's when the kite soars. If you cut the string of truth, if you untether yourself from truth, you're done for. That kite's not going anywhere. But with that tethered to truth, there isn't any height you can't reach. We will soar and we will restore. And our greatest days are ahead, but we have to come together under that banner of truth and stay anchored in it, and never give it up, no matter what.